Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Good morning, this is Newsline, and on this wet morning we're joined by that eminent legal personality, Mr. Govind Siri, and we hope to discuss the merits or details even of presidential commissions of inquiry. Good morning to you, Mr. Dasri.
Good morning.
We're very glad that you're here with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Ahead of your trip to wherever it is. Where are you going? Trans-Siberia or something?
Siberia.
Siberia. It's a bit colder there than it is here. You got all your warm clothing ready?
Yes, very much so.
Good. Mr. Dasri, now tell me, tell us about presidential commissions.
Well, I think the more important thing to discuss for us is what next. Now you, and especially the media, especially you, and also the public, has brought us to a high point in this bond
I think
drama.
we ought to clarify that you means us, the network. Now, carry on.
Really what happens is, where do we go next? What next is the question. Now the legal process has to be put into operation because we have a very peculiar situation where we have three findings, one by the central bank, one by the COPE and another by the Auditor General, all pointing to one gentleman, Mr. Mahendran, who is undoubtedly now in the eyes of those bodies a person who has certainly got the right to be suspended, but he's not suspended. He's going, the kind of bravado which he speaks today frightens me. It gets me the impression that there will be not bipartisanship but tripartisanship with the SLFP in two wings. Everybody is maybe there to help him out because he seems so overconfident of himself with all these very damning reports. Now the question is, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Well, there is a possibility of taking the judicial process or the court process or the commission process. Now, in talking of commissions, there are two kinds of commissions. There is the Special Presidential Commission, which can only deny the civic rights. Now, that is effective for a politician, but certainly as far as these gentlemen are concerned, who be traders in shares and bonds, it means nothing to be stripped of your civic rights. On the other hand, you can go before a commission of inquiry under the Commission of Inquiry Act. Again, not much purpose will be carried out because finally what happens is that there will be a recommendation but no prosecution, no conviction, no punishment. So we got to get into an area where the money can be recovered, where the money gets back into the hands of the original parties. The country is not at any economic disaster, and the people who have been at it are found guilty or acquitted. I mean, there must be a finding that is acceptable. There must be natural justice. There must be no bias. The people must have the right of cross-examination, a fair trial.
But there must also be there is a profound need for this to be expeditiously settled.
Now that is the very issue that is in question, because who is going to be the prosecutor? The whole thing depends not so much in the hands of the judge. The judge merely hears the case. The evidence is presented to him, but is it presented effectively? Is it presented in a way that is expeditiously? Now
there ought to be a commitment to that overriding interest, and that is, the overriding interest would be the public interest. And in terms of that, Mr. Govind, it's now February, it's about 21 months, and this whole bond has become entrenched in the system. The monies have been made, accounts have been published, and all we're getting is talk and more talk. What about some action?
I think that is what we got to do. It's action, but in that action, is it going to be action or inaction? Because you can drag on a case. I know very well, the last government, they had an absolutely first-class case on the Tamil Rehabilitation Organization. But I don't know what proceeded from there on. I saw the files, I saw the papers given to me by the terrorist outfit, terrorist unit of the state, it was countering it.
Yeah.
But I don't know what came of it at all. because you can put it in cold storage, and that is where I think the Attorney General's Department has to take much blame. There are very effective lawyers but they in the Attorney General's Department, but there are a lot of people who are ineffective. Give them a job, they'll never do it. They want to be everybody's sweetheart, and they are looking for political patronage. They don't do the job properly.
Why can't we have a special prosecutor?
Now that is a very good idea. What this case needs a special prosecutor, because if you look at the track record, both the government, this government and last government, are the offenders in this whole transaction. They would like to, I would think they would like to put it under cover, put it in icebox. So it's absolutely necessary that we have a special prosecutor. I mean, that's a very common thing. If you remember Bandaranaike assassination case, there was the great George Chitty.
Yeah.
He was the prosecutor. Last government, I know a number of cases where they took non-president's counsel, and I know they didn't charge fees also, but they got the job done. They did it effectively because the last government...
That's the key, isn't it? Getting the job done.
Getting the job done and getting it effective done. You need commitment, you need dedication, and you need determination. Now those are qualities some of our public servants don't have, whether they are in the official bar or in the unofficial bar. You've got to get people who are determined to do the job properly.
And who are committed to the national interest. Why can't these people get it? Why is it taken so long?
That is because
there is no commitment.
That is because politicians are so interested in this particular thing. If you look at it, we know in whose term this particular broker came into limelight. We know in whose term he made money. If you look at it, it's both governments. And today that it's not two parties but three parties. That's why I say there's tripartisanship in this whole effort, and it is the media and the public who got them even to this point. And I think there are heroes in this. I think Auditor General is a hero, Mr. Hadung Hettige is a hero, and I think the media are heroes. But except for that, especially MTV and FT, Financial Times, they brought this thing to the forefront. If not for people like that, the public wouldn't have been there. Public consciousness is the cause of it. And also I must give credit to this government. There is more openness than previously. If it was last government, they would have swept everything under the...
Well, in that case, I mean, if this government, this Prime Minister is taking the kudos, he says that it's because of, it's just exactly as you said it, that because of this government and their policies that so much has come to light. Well, don't you think in that case that isn't there a case for the Prime Minister to take the next step?
He has to take,
which is that he ought to step aside to pave the way for an inquiry.
I think it's absolutely essential that with all these kind of strictures passed on Mr. Mahendran, he must be suspended. That will show the bona fides of this government. Otherwise, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe is going to be in serious trouble, because with all these things, he's still holding key positions. He's talking with absolute bravado. And we can see how the UNP members behaved in the COPE committee. It was verbal gymnastics. I mean, they've shifted positions. So there is a lot of reservations about the way this government is handling it, and I think they can come clean only if they take the steps of asking Mr. Mahendran to be suspended, or he should leave that position voluntarily. I mean, if he is a self-respecting man, if he wants absolute fair play, he should withdraw from that position on his own.
Which is worse, do you think? Is it that power corrupts absolutely, or is it that the fear of losing power? Which do you think is greater?
I think it walks hand in hand for us, because if you lose power, then you become you are a disabled person when you're a wrongdoer. For a person who has committed no wrong, I don't think there's anything to fear, because there's never a doubt of any suspicion. But in the case of Mr. Mahendran, he holds power, he walks the corridors of power, and then he holds on to that position. I mean, I think the least he can embarrass the government is by himself withdrawing from all the positions that he holds, and becomes another ordinary person who can be duly prosecuted. But it will be very embarrassing for the government to start a prosecution against a person who's holding a high office. And that is the embarrassment that Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe is going to face if he is going to pursue with this present position, and that will be extremely damning to him and all this talk about frankness.
You see, our concern would be that here on the one side we have him, the Prime Minister, taking credit for the system that allows this discussion even to happen and all the details that have come out so far. But at the same time, we must bear in mind that the Prime Minister has been in the habit of literally threatening or criticizing the media. Criticizing is fine, I suppose, but the other is absolutely unacceptable.
I think it's a triumph, it's a trophy for the media to be criticized by the Prime Minister. I would always...
We don't mind criticism, but I don't think we want to be told what kind of editorials to write and what kind of subject material we need to carry.
Certainly not.
That is entirely up to us and our editors.
I quite take your point, sir, and I think you yourself has done a great service in this particular project. But you can't be dictated, but you can be, I think, criticism from a government is something that any media should be proud of, because you know that you're not a part of the kept press.
Indeed, and I think we need to, perhaps these politicians need to understand that we did what we are doing today. We did this under the previous regime too.
And you suffered under the previous regime.
Well, that didn't put us off.
No, I don't. Suffering is a tribute to you. You must consider it in that light.
It's simply unacceptable. And when he claims, the credit, if you like, for
see, Mr. Wickremesinghe,
why don't we, what about this then, Mr. Gomin? It's taken us 18 to 20 months to get to this stage. That's a long time.
It was a very slow process because you have so many obstacles put on your way. It's like a steeplechase. I mean, you had to run with so many obstacles as you move forward, but you overcame that when we have got to this point, and it's a great tribute, I think, to all those who contributed to it. But from now on, we've got to rely on the judiciary. I must tell you, very frankly, I'm not a supporter of this government, but the judiciary is very much better than in previous government. I think it was still better during Premadasa's time. After that, this is about the best of the judicial periods, but that is all credit to the judiciary. Of course, there are a few people who are not up to the mark. I mean, we saw that Kolta case. That was a ridiculous judgment written by the Chief Justice, which was contradictory. I'll say that.
You say that.
I say that.
I'm not saying
you're not saying that, because I'm quite prepared to face contempt. Because what has to be said in public. I mean, I don't have any scruples about saying things that even the judiciary has its... I mean, today the Supreme Court is better than it ever was, in my experience, in my lifetime. You've got very bright young people and people who are giving very bold and frank decisions. That's a great tribute, and that is why I say that this matter should go to the regular courts. But in that sense, you can have a special court that hears proceedings from day to day or 3 days a week.
Because also, Mr. Dasri, it's too much to believe that just the one company, embarked on this, in the end, a system that has cost the people of this country money, and the Auditor General has actually quantified it, which is excellent news, because somebody's put a value to it on the day that it has happened. We can go a step further. 20 months later, we can calculate how much the loss has been for the 20 months. 20 months of delay and procrastination, and utter lack of commitment to get to the bottom of what has obviously aroused the conscience of this country. And why is it, Mr. Gomin, that these politicians can't see it?
They can well see, but they're part and parcel of it. They are the beneficiaries. They created this system. That is why I say we need a change of leadership. We need a new generation to take over. Our generation hasn't been successful in stopping scams. But the next generation, I hope, will be able to do this for the sake of the country.
This has been a systematic plan. Straight away, we had a decision to split the finance ministry into three. Although all the laws and statutes refer to the minister in charge of the subject of finance, the finance minister. So when there was a need to recommend to the president a candidate for the position of the governor of the central bank, that recommendation has to be made by the minister in charge of the subject of finance, the minister of finance. However, this minister of finance finds that the central bank is not listed under him. So there's a mismatch in these rules and so on. It's a complete, utter travesty. Do you agree?
I agree, and what I say is if the Prime Minister is not doing what is needful, the President can still do it because he is the head of the central bank. He could suspend the positions that Mr. Mahendran now holds if he desires to do that, And I think it's absolutely necessary because just as much as I say the courts are improving, we must improve every arm of the executive, the judiciary and the legislature. And in doing so, I think it will be a great credit to the President if he takes that bold step like appointing Mr. Kumarasamy, which we all heralded as a good effort by the President.
But can we, instead of stopping there, what are the merits of having? Isn't it the most expeditious method to have a special presidential commission?
No, I don't think a special presidential commission or any commission of inquiry is no value because we must go through the regular court procedure. What is more important is the appointment of a special prosecutor. Prosecutor. Because a special prosecutor is a person who can put it on fast track. You have to get this moving and it must move fast. Now look at we had the Udulagamas commission.
Yeah.
There was a state council, I mention his name because he was very much penalized by the last Attorney General, Jasanta Kodagoda. He did that case very admirably. 3 days a week they used to sit. And 17 cases were completed, war crimes in 13 months. And that was a very gallant performance by the Aegis Department. Aegis Department has people who if committed, can do a job. But the thing is, there are more people in the Aegis Department who don't do the job. So I don't think we can be selective. It's far better to pick a lawyer who the government has confidence, the people have confidence, who is dedicated and who do a job of work. I can tell you, last government often picked people. Non-presidential council was often retained. I don't want to mention names, it's a little embarrassing to mention names. But they did the job, and I know they didn't take he didn't take a cent from the cases he appeared. So you must, this government is a government of good governance lawyers. You get people like Veli Yamuna and them who are talking a lot about good governance. I'm sure they will take over cases like this and do it without asking for heavy fees.
I have got several questions from viewers. One is an operational matter. I think there's one viewer saying that the background music needs to be toned down. Another one is asking a question, you're making a statement. A special presidential commission is not confined to take away the civic rights. It could be specialized to include any subject envisaged.
It could, but the question of punishment is what is, the recovery of money, those things.
But can't the president confer punitive powers on them?
Then you'll have to amend the legislation. That's time consuming. Those are things that we must know. We must go on the existing laws.
Right.
Because otherwise, if you get into that scenario, you're going to waste time and giving the offenders more time to escape. So you have to get, my solution is fast track.
Another viewer, could you ask if the Minister of Finance is empowered or can call for a meeting of primary dealers at the central bank and cite on behalf of the government?
Well, he could certainly call. He has the power to call, and they will certainly obey his directions and come for a meeting.
But it's not if the central bank and its operation is not listed under him, he has no locus standi, as you say in your legal world.
they can deny they can deny the right of appearing before him, but I doubt whether they will do that
in practice.
So I think but those are worthless exercises. But
Right.
now all that is
All that
stage
is said and done.
Now we have all the evidence on record. We have an excellent report from the Auditor General, one of my heroes of today. And I think it's necessary that we must get on track and finish this operation once and for all.
Absolutely. And who can be special prosecutors? What do you envisage?
A special prosecutor must be a lawyer to begin with. He must also be a person of repute. He must be somebody who can engage. And what is more important than anything is reading of his mind. There must be dedication, determination and commitment to do a fair job of work.
How does the president go about in practice? How does the president go about the business of selecting a special prosecutor?
I think first of all he must have confidence in the person. He must be a reliable person. He must not be purely a person who's there to make money out of the deal. Now George Shetty I think was an excellent choice as the prosecutor in the Bandaranaike assassination case. You must find this government has plenty. Last government had just one or two. But this government has so many lawyers in their fold who will these good governance people. They will come and help them, I'm sure. Lawyers are very dedicated people, some of them, and they will help me. But I think in this whole thing we must forget about the president, prime minister, because he's been too committed to Mahendran and he's too close to him. I think the president must take over this whole assignment and he must direct operations. He has the right to suspend Mahendran from his post he holds. He can pick up a prosecutor. He can set up
He's supposed to be an advisor in the Prime Minister's office.
Who?
Mahendran.
Yes, Mahendran may be advised in Prime Minister's office, but he has the right to say that in fact that he shamed the country so much on the basis of the reports, not that it's a proved fact, but the reports hold him, so that you don't remove him, you suspend him from his
You
office.
keep him
in abeyance.
In abeyance.
That's right.
In abeyance. Who do you think is paying him in the meantime?
If it's the Prime Minister's office, they must be paying him. And they must say, his travel and his other facilities must be provided from the Prime Minister's funds. Now that is why the Prime Minister should now stay out of it. He should be out of the ring. He is disqualified. In my opinion, he is disqualified because he is still having him in his charge. Anything that he says on this subject, he should be considered as not of much merit, because he is an interested party. But that is where the president has to get, because that's why I always think that presidential power should not be stripped, because it's in situations like this
that we
we need a president who is above the Prime Minister.
Well said. That's good analysis there, and it helps the people understand the role of the president even in a crystal clear
And the president
way.
is very important that he be elected, because otherwise if he is merely in a representative capacity, he doesn't get power from the people. Here he has power from the people. He can say, I act on the blessing, with the blessings of the people. That is very important, and that is why I think it's time he must act. Now he's been far too dormant in this matter. He's allowed the Prime Minister to run the rules. Prime Minister is an interested party. Prime Minister is negatived by that fact.
And really, it's all in the hands of one man. And ironically, it is the one man who has a clear mandate from the people.
Clear mandate, and it's the people. Remember, for us, we have been able to reach this point because of the people. It's the enthusiasm of the people, and in that sense, I think it is more the civic conscious people, the people who read newspapers, who read paper. I think it's the English-speaking public who must take much of the credit, because even if you look at the newspapers, it's the serious English medium. For example, your program, The Face the Nation, they've been highlighting this very much, and all credit to them, and so is Financial Times.
I think in all this, and that's fair comment, and thank you. In all this, it's worth bearing in mind, of course, that if we have no commitment from the publishers in the media world, if the publishers' appetite isn't there, then the journalist cannot go far. So the higher the commitment, the greater the performance of the journalists in the national interest.
True for us, but also ultimately the publishers also are determined by the public opinion.
Indeed.
Because they know that public wants it. That is why they look at their media.
Indeed.
So finally, it's the arousing the public interest is the fine point, and that is why we have been able to reach this. And in that sense, when it comes to issues like bonds and shares, it's the English-speaking public, it's the more sophisticated public who are more interested in this, and they have pushed it. And it's a great. I think they have done a great service to the country.
Isn't it also appropriate that His Excellency the President pays a fitting tribute to Sobita Tero, and for starting this entire process off? It must be fitting to have a special prosecutor and bring this sorry saga to a natural legal conclusion. I'm sure Sobita Tero will be honored by that action.
I'm not a admirer of persons for us, but I think the special prosecutor is a very important role that he has to play in this inquiry, and more so in all inquiries that are now before the public eye. Because look at the situation, we have had so many inquiries, people been paraded before the CID, but has any evidence been led in any case? That is the best test for me. That's the litmus test for me to determine that the Attorney General's Department and the Bribery Commission is totally ineffective. I think the whole trouble is 19th Amendment has been an absolute dead letter, because whatever any of these commissions done, you have poor Dilruksh Das has been removed. But more important is, what has the commissioners, bribery commissioners appointed by the Constitutional Council, what have they done? I mean, they should have taken, they should be in the forefront, not you and I. They should, if their warrant is to eliminate corruption and bribery, have they done? The trouble is, once again, legislation. You appoint a retired Supreme Court judge, that is undoubtedly a person over 65 years to qualify for that position. Now, such people are not dynamic. So we must change the laws in the first place to bring people who are aggressive, who are determined, who have a lot of initiative, innovation to get through this. And of course, honesty is prime. But you must have the enthusiasm, the dynamism to do us. You can't expect a person who's fit for a home for the aged to be holding positions. They are only good to probably come and have a cup of tea and read the newspapers. But I know they are venerable gentlemen, but in their time in the Supreme Court, but now they are probably very much retired and out of touch with events. So no wonder these commissions are ineffective. So we got to get on the fast track, all these things. But to begin with, if you go to try to cure those matters, that will take time. Let's get on with a special prosecutor that is enabled by the law. I mean, I have done many cases for the state under the last regime, important cases.
As a sort of special prosecutor?
As a special counsel.
Right.
And I mean, I didn't charge fees at all, but because it was in that sense. But so there is provision, I can speak to that. Because they found that the Attorney General's Department is ineffective, and I must tell you one thing, Attorney General's Department supported me in all those things when I took over the cases. They were very supportive, and especially the Attorney General himself was very supportive. Mr. Vijay Tilaka and the then Attorney General were very supportive of all these matters. So there's no problem. They won't stand as obstacles if they know that person is the right choice, and this government has so many different people that they can appoint. Get on the job. I tell you, Mr. President, you are the man for it. You've got to move on.
Get on with it and get on with it and come to a logical, legal conclusion swiftly.
Fast track, that's what you need.
Fast track. Indeed. On that note, and it's been an entertaining morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Govindasri, for your opinions here. And on that note, thank you for watching Newsline. We'll see you same place, same time tomorrow for the rest of the week. Take care and God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.